Hi everyone, and welcome to the 5th episode of the Matchbox Restoration series. In this episode I'll be restoring the 22c Pontiac G.P sports coupe that I bought from the same lady as the Cadillac ambulance I restored in episode 2. The 22c model was introduced in 1965, replacing the 22b Vauxhall Cresta. This model has a lot of variations, none of which are really rare. The doors on this model are held by a plastic spring, which makes it an earlier model. It also seems to be repainted at some point, although it's clear that it's in need for some extra care. It's remarkable that the front trim details are very poorly painted from the factory, especially the headlights. I'll try to do better in this restoration. I start out by drilling out the rivets with two different drill bits. First I use a 3mm drill bit to drill a hole through, then a 4mm one to remove the large part of the rivet. After some fiddling around, the base pops off and lands safely on my vise. The window unit is kept in place by the interior, so after removing the interior and the doors, I can easily take the window unit out. There's one axle that has quite some rust on it. I remove both axles with my Dremel tool by removing the small lip at the end of the axle so the wheels can come off. To get the rust off the axle, I'm going to try to put it in some vinegar overnight, something I saw other restorers do with success. Before starting the paint stripping process, I'm mixing the color I'll be using for the paint job. The red Tamiya X7 acrylic paint only needed a tiny bit of blue to match the original color of the model. As I was preparing to go shopping for the Christmas dinner, I realized the hats would be perfect to use in my restoration video. The downside was I had to pay full price because the paint stripper ruined all the discount codes. After 15 minutes the paint stripper did its work and the paint comes off nicely with a toothbrush. To get the casting back into shape, I use a fiber pen to remove the corroded parts on the body and base. This step helps a lot in finding some issues in the casting that can be addressed later on. On this particular model, I found some cracks that I didn't notice when I started restoration. The casting has some fine cracks in the front roof pillars. You can clearly see a breakage on top of the pillars, but also some on the bottom. I fixed them by applying some superglue and letting it cure overnight, and then sanding the leftover glue until the surface was smooth again. After drilling out the rivets, the rivet posts still have a sharp brim, which I file off with a small file. This way the base can be put back easily over the rivet posts when I put the model back together. For this model, I'm using the light grey Tamiya surface primer, as I like to get a deeper red when painting it. As always, I apply light bursts of primer to retain the details of the casting. While the base coat dries, I clean the interior, which is overall in good condition. Next up is the window unit that has a lot of scratches that I'll be addressing later. After the base coat has dried, it's time to paint the model. Some of my subscribers give me a lot of good advice regarding the use of the airbrush gun and the compressor. I really appreciate the advice and will look into all of it to improve my airbrush skills in future restoration videos. This model has its own challenges, like the doors that must look exactly the same as the rest of the body. On my first restoration ever, I learned that it's easier to paint the doors separately instead of mounting them while painting. While the paint is drying, I polish the window unit with a polishing wheel. One of my subscribers noticed that I was using a buffing wheel, which wasn't really the ideal tool for the job. This one makes the window unit nice and shiny again. After the paint has dried, I apply the clear coat to the model. First the body, then the base, and the same goes for the doors as well. As you might have seen on my channel's community tab, I have been good this year, so Santa brought me a brand new drill press. My first job is to machine a tool to modify the axle tips. I use a 2mm drill bit and just gently drill a small indent into the screw. Not too deep, or the tool might create a different shape than the one we're after. I repeat the same with a 4mm drill bit on another screw to rest the other side of the axle on. I use a larger drill bit to retain the shape of the original axle tip. When using the tools for the first time, it gives me the result I was expecting. I'm still keeping my hammer though, it might come in handy someday. Once again, I forgot to drill into the rivet post before painting. I carefully drill 1.5mm holes into the rivet posts with a tiny amount of oil to smoothen the process. After drilling the holes, I tap a thread into the holes with a 2mm tap. The rivet post on the rear of the model is a bit smaller, That's why I need to shorten the screw that will secure the base on the rear. I use a sanding tool on my Dremel for this. Let me try that again, with some safety glasses of course. I always put a bolt on the screw before sanding it down. This way the thread on the tip is retained after the sanding. Now that everything is ready to be put together, I'll start by putting the window unit into place. After that, the doors and interior go in. The interior keeps the window unit in place, so there's no need to glue it into place. The last step is to secure the base with 2 screws. And that's it. The Pontiac G.P Sports Coupe back in full glory. This time I'm quite happy with how the window unit looks after restoration. The color of the body matches the doors pretty good and the trim details turned out nice too. Please let me know what you think and hit the subscribe button to get notified when I'm uploading a new video. I'll be posting regularly in the new community tab of my channel to let you know what I'm working on. Thank you for watching.